Godless voice here. I'm going to be moving really fast through a lot of ideas, but here lately I've come to a new set of questions on free will. What I'm going to be pulling from is quantum physics, Richard Holton, and Alan Watt. Quantum physics. Quantum physics, the observer effect, states that a particle will operate differently if observed. The specific case was the double slit experiment. You fire matter through a slit, it should appear through two slits. It should appear as two slits on the wall behind it. Fire energy through the same two slits, and they cause a wave pattern, which energy does. But the two wave patterns will collide with each other, cancel each other out, and create intense points where the two waves had met. And this causes a lattice work of waves that has a myriad of points in which they regularly hit, not randomly, but continually and steadily hit in roughly the same spots. Alright, so we've caught up on that. What happens is whenever quantum particles, the smallest form of particle matter, has been shot through these two slits, they give off a wave pattern. Scientists were trying to figure out what was going on. They thought maybe that the matter was being fired too fast, so they slowed it down so that the matter wasn't possibly bouncing off each other. Same pattern, the energy pattern. Okay, well, let's see which one they're going through. So they observe which slot the matter is going through. That's whenever it collapsed down into acting like regular matter and created two slots, just because it was being watched. So what you have here is an example of possibility being collapsed down into probability. That's the way I see it, at least. I mean, I could be wrong. Keep in mind, I've only got a 9th grade education, and I'm not exactly educated in any of these fields. All right, so moving on. Richard Holton. Richard Holton provided this experiment, or this example. Well, first of all, he said there were two problems with free will. The one that everybody knows, recognizes, and has a problem with the most is the determinism. If one fixed point has a fixed outcome, then every point after that point is fixed and can be predicted. That's the main problem everybody has with determinism. He said there's a bigger problem that's separate from that. It's called the frustrators. Take a box with a light on it. Your objective is to predict whether or not that light is going to be on at 12 o'clock exactly. You have to predict either the light's going to be on or off. The way you're going to do this is you're going to predict whether or not it's on or off at 11:55, and you're going to do so with your own light. So if you think it's going to be on, you're going to turn your light on. If you think it's going to be off, you're going to turn your light off. And he said, on top of that, he's going to give you all the information you wanted to know, all the history of all the parts, everything that went into the making of this box and this light. You get to know all of it. And you still must make your prediction. Problem is, one of the bits of information he tells you that you are entitled to before you make your prediction is that there's a sensor in the box that's directed at your light. And whatever your light's doing, it's going to do the opposite. Can't predict that, right? Or can you? Somebody from the outside of the system can predict it. The old statement of whether or not a tree cannot know it's in a forest for all the trees. Well, you have to be outside of the forest to be able to see that it's a forest. And somebody that's outside of the forest, or outside of this experiment, would be able to tell what the outcome is. The outcome would be frustrating. But no matter what, there are three options. You either refuse to participate, you either turn the light off and you're wrong, you turn the light on and you're wrong. Those are the three end results. There are no additional results to that, though. My point is, going back to the observer's effect, it's possible that you cannot predict every possible outcome, but you can consolidate everything into the most likely outcome. So there's going to be three options. Either you turn it off and are wrong, turn it on and are wrong, or decide not to participate. One of those three options are going to occur. It's not going to be steak day at fucking Omaha, or some shit like that. You're not going to go ride the Ferris wheel. You're not going to do anything outside of the fixed point that is being provided, but that point has a quantum answer, is my point. So, this brings me around to Alan Watt. Alan Watt proposed that the only point of free will that you had was to know yourself. Well, I actually rejected this at first because it didn't make any sense, but now that I'm actually doing a little research, I'm starting to see where this is possibly true. What if your conscious mind is observer? Whenever you're awake and conscious, you're observing the universe, and so everything has a fixed point. There's actually full-on determinism going on all around you. Only when you're asleep, for example, dreaming, are you no longer beholden to determinism. Because you are no longer observing the world. The world no longer has a fixed response to what's going to happen. It has a fixed set of responses, but not a fixed response. So there is a very limited sense of options. Now, the problem there is, the reason why I wouldn't go on to say that we have free will even then, is because this is limited to all in your head. The moment you start to escape your head, you no longer have free will. Me talking to you on this video, I'm just acting on my programming. The only time I'm not acting on my programming is whenever I dream. And I haven't dreamed in a while, for that matter. But tangenting. So I submit, I propose that perhaps free will has a quantum effect. And that quantum effect is applicable whenever you're unconscious and can be seen when you're dreaming. When you try to assert control over your dreams, I then submit that you are actually giving up your free will. Because then you're applying real-world understanding to it. You're applying your limited program, your fixed response programming to the dream instead of letting the dream just happen. You ever notice how a dream doesn't really always operate how you want it to? Unless you've actually trained yourself to control it, it is quite possibly the only time you actually do have free will, because you can't actually predict anything. It doesn't make any sense sometimes. And the reason is that you actually have free will in your dreams. Or so I'm proposing. So, what do you think? Do you think it is possible that we have free will only in the back of our mind, only able to access that when we're asleep? Not bad for a 9th grade dropout, huh? So, leave your comments below. What do you think? Applying quantum physics to free will and the lack of therein. Do you think it works? Do you know anybody that knows better than I do? Because I don't know shit. I'm just coming up with this shit out of my skull, willy-nilly. Somebody know anything better? Somebody have like neurology degrees, astrophysics degrees, something like that can correct me? Please do. Please correct me. I would like to know. At any rate, it's Godless Voice signing off. Like and subscribe. I'm not a complete dumbass. I'm just mostly a dumbass. Later.